What is up, guys? It's your boy Rick Kakis, and today, oh my goodness, guys, go get some popcorn, get your favorite beverage, sit down, strap in, because Bungie just dropped an absolutely massive 6,000 plus word State of the Game article for August 2023, outlining a massive amount of changes coming for the rest of 2023, leading up and beyond the final shape expansion. And so, let's get started. Now, the first topic is addressing feedback. Guys, it's no secret that the Destiny 2 community is not super thrilled with the game right now. Even though Season of the Deep does add a lot of good content, people are simply tired of the same old seasonal model we've been seeing for years. Couple that with no meaningful changes to many areas of the game, especially PvP, lackluster rewards in many cases, and creeping monetization where you can now straight up buy the entire season's past day one, something Bungie said they wanted to avoid in the past. And again, the player feedback has been pretty negative and intense over the past few months. So, with that in mind, Bungie talks ritual updates. So, they mentioned the changes already made in Season of the Deep, for example, upgrading the weekly ritual challenge rewards to exotic engrams, but they also talk about a recently announced change where next season, obviously, we're getting new ritual weapons for Vanguard, Crucible, Gambit, but importantly, you're actually going to be able to focus those new weapons that very season, instead of having to wait an entire season before being able to focus new weapons. So obviously that's going to lead to a lot more interest in ritual activities. But specifically, they wanted to talk about PvP. So here we go. So, Bungie does say we've delivered several additions to PvP over the past few seasons. These include the launch of the competitive division, multiple new game modes, a revamp of trials, new competitive and trials rewards, fireteam matchmaking improvements, rotator playlists, and quite a few things in fairness to them. However, a lot of these things did not jive with the community and were not implemented properly. That's a whole nother topic. But they do also say the most frequent feedback we see is that there's just not enough new PvP content, specifically new maps. To set expectations, our studio structure is built to support more overarching updates to PvP like the ones above, rather than focusing exclusively on maps. When we do focus our resources on building new Crucible maps, it comes with the trade-off of multiple teams' bandwidth on work that contributes to a variety of experiences that players also hold dear, such as new story or exotic mission content, new activities that make up the foundation of each season, or new destinations. Similarly, bringing back reprise maps also involves extensive porting to the latest version of Destiny 2, which requires additional resources to ensure the maps work correctly for multiple game modes and playstyles for years to come. Now, undoubtedly, this is a fair and true statement. Bungie only has a limited amount of resources. They can't make what everyone wants all the time. However, it's a bit hard to feel sorry for them because they're currently working on not one, but two completely new games at the moment. So it seems like a lack of Destiny 2 resources is a bit self-inflicted, Bungie. In addition to that, it seems like they never pull anyone off of the new Eververse items team to work on this stuff, huh? Anyways, moving on from there, the good news is that we have some exciting content coming to PvP this month that several teams have brought to life, as well as an update on our advances in game security to combat cheaters, a preview of upcoming Sandbox shakeups, and more details coming next week on how the general PvP sandbox, the gear and ability balance will evolve. Now, for Season 22 next season, we have a new Vex Network themed map debuting along with the new Relic 6v6 mode, the gunplay focused Checkmate modifier for multiple modes, a new competitive Ascendant Division emblem, and more. Relic and Checkmate will both kick off in Crucible Labs throughout the season so we can gather feedback on how they are received. We'll have more to share in the showcase, but let's dive in a bit more right now. And you can see right here in the background a picture of the new Crucible map that's coming. It's called Multiplex, and here they have a little bit of a description on what it's all about. Now, moving on from there, that checkmate modifier, Bungie says, is where rich primary weapon fights can happen more often, and gun skill can be augmented by communication and strong positioning. Primary weapon damage has been tuned to feel different than the rest of the game without being jarring, reducing the gap between the faster killing weapons and the average time to kill, and in general pushing longer range primaries into slower killing profiles. Player health has been increased, and all ability cooldowns are lengthened, and special ammunition must be earned via gameplay and is not dropped on death. So, really interesting. Hopefully the people who love gunplay will love that modifier. Now moving on from there to that Relic game mode, they say it's a 6v6 party mode where players wreak havoc and destruction on their foes with relic weapons. Relics include the Aegis from the Vault of Glass, the Synaptic Spear from Season of the Risen, and the Scythe from Season of the Haunted. So all those random pickup objects that you would use to slay out in PvE, well, they're all coming to this crazy game mode right here. Now moving on from there, they also talk about matchmaking improvements. So they say our quest to constantly improve matchmaking is always ongoing, and next season we're modifying our loose skill-based matchmaking settings for Control and Iron Banner. These new settings will look to improve matchmaking times and experiences for players who find themselves at the upper and lower end of the skill spectrum, and for those playing in low population regions or times. That's fantastic news. That's one of the biggest problems with skill-based matchmaking, is that when the season starts to peter out, which is just inevitably going to happen in like the dead times of the season, there's just not enough people playing to properly do skill-based matchmaking, and you end up waiting, 5 minutes to simply get into a game. Now moving on from there, they also talk about more coming in season 23. They say looking further ahead, we're planning to deliver a new Iron Banner mode along with a brand new Haka aggressive frame Strand pulse rifle as our newest competitive division reward. The Mercurial Overreach adaptive frame arc sniper will remain available throughout season 22. They say, as a reminder, we're also focusing on our map reprisal efforts on porting the Citadel from 2018 to the Crucible in season 23. Now, moving on from there, the next ritual activity they talk about is Vanguard. So, Bungie says we have more new additions coming up. First up, Vanguard medals. Vanguard medals will be available in Vanguard Ops and Nightfalls starting next season. After first being introduced in last year's Guardian games and their continued success in this year's event, we have decided to bring them in full time to spice things up in our Vanguard playlists. Medals will contribute to scoring, allowing players to attain higher scores and reputation multipliers by performing unique actions and doing cool things. Our goal here is to reward players for playing well and not require players to go out of their way to grind for score. In short, we don't want you to feel like you have to compromise your build in order to boost your score with additional medals. Now, in addition to that, they also talk about bringing other activities like Battlegrounds into the Vanguard playlist, and they say as a result, we'll have additional Battlegrounds coming into the Nightfall and Grandmaster Nightfall rotators in Season 22 and Season 23 to keep players on their toes before the final shape launches. Now, moving on from there, guys, everyone's favorite, we have Gambit. So they say, as many of you have noticed, we've been quiet on Gambit since last year's overhaul that launched alongside the Witch Queen. After that revamp, the team made significant changes across 5 categories in Gambit: core activity fundamentals, primeval tuning, invasions, ammo economy, and rewards. Unfortunately, these updates didn't move the needle for player engagement. A lot of people thought Gambit got a lot worse, although we know our Gambit fans mostly care about new or returning maps. This is an area of the game with lower engagement that would take resources away from more popular parts of the game to shore up. So, while we don't have plans to dedicate more resources to significantly transform Gambit, we do have a few updates planned for the year of the final shape. These include porting the Cathedral of Scars map and its beautiful Dreaming City settings to the latest version of Destiny 2, as well as adding the Shadow Legion and Lucian Hive enemy types to Gambit. Before then, we're making Gambit entirely optional to maximize your rewards unless you're looking for a piece of gear that's specific to the mode. Gambit will continue to serve as a source of exotic engrams via weekly challenges, though as we mentioned above, you'll be able to complete all of your weekly challenges in any ritual you'd like starting next season. So if you want to stick to Vanguard or Crucible without having to touch Gambit, now you can. Okay, that's an important change. They're also actually reducing the number of Gambit-specific seasonal challenges starting in Season 22, so players won't need to bank motes to be able to earn that big purse of Bright Dust for completing nearly every challenge in the season. And finally, they're adding Fireteam matchmaking to Gambit next season, which will replace the freelance node and should result in faster, better matchmaking by combining both Gambit playlists. But guys, moving on from there, they talk about armor set rewards. So they say a long time ago, we shared a plan to address concerns on reward balance. Players have pointed out that we didn't release a new armor set for the ritual playlists with Lightfall as previously called out on our yearly schedule. Delivering ritual armor sets at the rates we have in the past became increasingly challenging, especially considering these sets have historically had very low adoption by players as both base armor and cosmetic ornaments. They say at this time we are amending our delivery plans on how often we refresh these sets and will no longer be creating new sets every expansion. Like obviously you've already not been doing that. However, we are prioritizing the delivery of new ritual armor set alongside the final shape to infuse some new looks you'll be able to show off from your time in the Vanguard, Crucible, and Gambit playlists. We also have a new armor set for Trials of Osiris releasing in just a few short weeks. Here's a preview of the Titan armor set coming with Season 22 right here. So, moving on from there, we have game security. So, Bungie says our security team works to prevent cheaters from ruining the experience for legitimate players, whether that be directly in competitive PvP activities or indirectly, via boosting or making a new burner account and bringing them to endgame content like Trials. Here are a few things from 2023 that we can share with you about our ongoing mission to protect players from cheaters. So, what has changed in Destiny 2 security this year? So they say that they've invested further in data science and machine learning, building confidence in the detections they produce. These tools allow us to observe and evaluate player behavior and potentially ban people. In addition, we have continued to adapt new policies to protect players, including the abuse of external accessibility tools policy. Finally, we've worked with BattleEye to address network manipulation tools, improved our data collection, blah, blah, blah. There's still blatant cheaters, people with infinite ammo heavies in Trials that don't get banned, so that's great to hear, but the machine learning is, hey, do you have heavy ammo round one? That's literally impossible. Equals yes, equals ban. That's all you gotta do, guys. Anyways, the next question is, can you address some recent actions? And they say, as a result of extensive investigations and the evolution of the tools at our disposal, we were recently able to issue one of the largest ban waves in our history against account recovery and boosting services and the players who use those services. As our toolset evolves, we continue to build in generous thresholds to help minimize the risk of false positives. We also consider multiple factors when issuing bans as an additional safety measure to any set threshold. Next question, what's next for security in Destiny 2? They say we will continue to evolve our prevention, detection, and banhammer capabilities, but these are just part of our overall strategy to combat cheating efforts. our legal team is also aggressively pursuing cheat makers across the globe in an effort to remove the source of cheating software before it's distributed. They have been highly effective, and this is actually true. Like very recently, they announced that they're suing another cheat maker. Like again, like their legal team has been suing and winning against these cheat makers, so that's pretty interesting. And they say, one last reminder, as always, we receive countless messages from banned accounts that state they don't remember cheating. When we investigate these cases, we often find that they gave their account to someone else to play the game for them. We again remind everyone that you must protect your account and not use recovery services. Saying that your fingers were not on the keyboard when cheating will not help you in an appeal. Now, moving on from there, guys, we have some stability updates. And I'm just going to put this on the screen. We kind of talked about this before in A12. Basically, they are working to prevent the crashes and downtime we're currently experiencing. Moving on from there, we're getting really juicy here. We have seasonal structure. They say, as we mentioned back in February, we've been working behind the scenes to shake up the seasonal paradigm this year to subvert player expectations and make each season feel unique. We know our players are looking for more variety in repeatable seasonal activities, and more than anything, we want to constantly surprise everyone with what comes out in each season. So, as a preview of what's to come, they say before we get into our 6-month progress report on our goals for the year, we want to share some of the previews of several quality of life upgrades and core sandbox updates coming in Season 22. Some of these are designed to simply make your everyday Destiny 2 experience better. Others should result in substantial meta refreshes for both PvE and PvP. So, for quality of life upgrades, you have cosmetic favoriting. At long last, and here you can see right here on screen, you'll be able to pin up to 100 of your favorite shaders, ornaments, and emotes on the top of the list starting in Season 22. That's a great change. Moving on from there, there's going to be Stasis Aspects and Fragments moved to a vendor system. So any character who has completed the Beyond Light campaign will be able to acquire all of the available Stasis Aspects and Fragments from LC Bray on Europa starting next season. So similar to how you go to Ikora to buy the Aspects and Fragments for the other stuff, that's what's happening to Stasis now as well. Moving on from there, transmats will now be unlocked. So like shaders before them, transmats will now be stored as unlocks in your account rather than consumable items. Feel free to change transmats at will without needing to grab copies from collections or find them in the wild. Great change. Moving on from there, the Wish Ender Pursuit improvements. The Wish Ender quest has gone through a number of changes throughout the years, and in Season 22, it becomes a real quest. No more charged or uncharged discs sitting in your inventory. It's just a quest strand in your quest log. Next up, Resources tab added to Collections. So this is a change you're really excited about. We now have a Resources tab in the Collections, which shows you all of the currencies, upgrade materials, and engrams in the game, appropriately categorized with information on how to acquire it, as well as what to do with it once you have it. So great for new players. Next up, Iron Banner challenges split. So with Pinnacle rewards not being as big of a draw as they once were season over season since Season of the Deep began, we felt it was time to split the Pinnacle acquisition and reputation multipliers we added back in Season of the Haunted. So starting next season, Iron Banner will have 2 different stacking challenges each day. One for players who just want their reputation multiplier, which does not require using specific seasonal subclasses, and one for players who are going after Pinnacle rewards, and that does require using seasonal subclasses. Then we have ritual rank ups immediately. So dating all the way back to Season 3, Ritual Reputation, previously known as Valor, Glory, and Infamy, waited until you hit Orbit to process any rank ups because the almost full screen banner would overwrite the scoreboard if it showed up earlier. When we revamped and streamlined our reputation over the past few years, we moved the rank up banner to the bottom of the screen and made them less conspicuous. But we left the processing of the ranks until you hit Orbit. Now you're going to actually get it at the end of of an activity. Moving on from there, some Sandbox updates. So, new Strand Aspects. At the start of Season 22, we're adding new Strand Aspects to enhance the Strand kit of each class by adding a new dynamic gameplay element. These aspects will be Whirling Maelstrom for the Hunter, Banner of War for the Titans, and Weave Walk for the Warlocks. So stay tuned for more info. Guys, that's actually really exciting because right now all of the subclass 3.0 normal light stuff has 3 aspects, but Stasis actually has 4, so it appears Strand is getting the same treatment, and with 4 different aspects to choose from, your actual customization of your Strand builds is going to more than double with the possibilities. That is very, very exciting. Now, moving on from there, we have exotic armor reworks. They say part 2. Similar to our first wave of exotic revamps in Season of the Deep, the team is working on another batch of underused exotic armor pieces in Season 22 to shake things up and give players new reasons to dive into their vaults. So watch out for a Developer Insights article next week. New weapon subfamilies incoming. Looking further into the future, we'll be introducing some entirely new weapon subfamilies in the final shape. Tune into the showcase on August 22nd to get your first look at some of these in action, as well as some other unexpected additions to the Destiny 2 arsenal yet to come. Guys, that's actually huge. One has already been announced. Next season, we're getting the double shot hand cannon. So the Warden's Law is coming back, and that archetype is being made into a proper archetype. This is huge. I've been asking for this for years. A great way to diversify the game is not just to add a bajillion new perks, but to add some different archetypes to the existing weapon types. Now, moving on from there, we have a weapon tuning preview. So they say if you didn't catch our mid-season tuning update, here are some of the things that are coming. So they're reducing the variance between the optimal engagement ranges of our mid-range weapons, so auto rifles, pulse rifles, and hand cannons. And they're slightly going to reduce the average engagement range in Crucible by pulling the maximum damage fall-off distance of many weapons. And to accomplish this, essentially, your zoom will not impact your range anymore. Those are going to be separate things. Now, moving on from there, guys, they say in addition to this, we have a lot of things to look forward to in Season 22. This is not a comprehensive list, but we want to give you a sneak peek. Hand cannons will see increased reload speeds and PvE damage buffs against minor and major enemies. Sword full power heavy attacks will be usable with any non-zero amount of sword energy, and Sword Guard is being buffed in several areas. Touch of Malice is getting some tweaks we think players will enjoy, and perks such as Bipod, Envious Assassin, and Under Over will become much more usable in Season 22. Very exciting stuff. Now, moving on from there, they have the next section, reinforcing our goals for the year. So, number 1, expand players' imagination. In Lightfall and Season of Defiance, we transformed many of the ways players typically interact with the game, from core systems and build crafting overhauls to streamlining seasonal currencies, etc. Now, they say specifically, we will be rolling out something very new and different in Season 23. Now, without spoiling anything from the showcase, our next season will be heading into creative territories we've never explored before. We're changing some things in a big way, including the seasonal progression paradigm with an all-new mechanic. All will be revealed on August 22nd. Bungie then says, taking a step back to examine the overall narrative for the year, the team is laser focused on ensuring the connective tissue in our storytelling between seasons 20 and 23 and the final shape is more impactful than last year's seasons were heading up to Lightfall. We're taking the feedback to heart and loading this year up with important moments designed to capture players' imaginations and move the saga forward with each beat. We've already proven this with Season of the Deep, with the revelations of the Witness's origins, substantial lore drops throughout the season in Neomuna, and the implications of where our Guardians go from here after the final mission's cutscene. Bungie continues, we know there are some players who would have preferred to experience these stories during Lightfall's campaign. With those players in mind, we believe the totality of this year's narratives will set the stage for the final shape in ways that a single story never could. And to put concerns to rest right now, the final shape and its raid will provide a climactic conclusion to the Light and Darkness saga before we look ahead to what comes next in Destiny 2. Wow, so the final shape is the conclusion. There was some speculation that, okay, we're going to have the final shape, and then obviously we're going to have seasons after that. Will it kind of wrap up there? Apparently not. It's going to end with the final shape, and then the seasons after will be like the entire new storyline for Destiny 2. Moving on from there, guys, number 2, bring challenge back to Destiny. Although we were a bit uneven on this one at the start of the year, we feel like we achieved this goal after making some additional tweaks based on general feedback at Lightfall's launch. While enemies in Neomuna still pack a punch regardless of your level, players have been able to steadily climb in power to take on more difficult challenges they may have had a tough time with earlier in the year, due to the absence of a power level cap in Season of the Deep. Now, following the success of these changes, we're confirming today that we also won't be raising the power cap next season. We've seen a ton of positive feedback on this decision from players who appreciate being able to play at their own pace rather than feeling compelled to chase pinnacles each week. Of course, we'll still have plenty of activities where power is crucial, including Master Raid and Dungeon content, Legend and Master Nightfalls, Grandmasters, Legend and Master Solo Lost Sectors, and Trials of Osiris. Now, they say for those craving even tougher challenges, we raised the bar on Grandmaster Nightfall difficulty this season with our first PsyOps Battlegrounds GM, which will make an additional appearance before the end of the season for players who didn't get a chance to do it the first time. As usual, we will continue to monitor feedback and add more Battlegrounds to Nightfalls and the GM schedule later in Lightfall's year. Like, I don't know about this one, guys, because simply, yeah, it is absolutely harder. It's arguably the hardest Grandmaster ever, which is cool, but the reward doesn't matter. Like, the reward is standard for Grandmasters, right? So if it's harder than usual, ensure that the double Nightfall rewards are hitting that week, right, Bungie? Like, that's what I don't understand. Moving on from there, goal number 3, enrich our content. So, they say based on feedback throughout the year of the Witch Queen, we know players want more exotic missions that the community would need to discover on their own. We've also heard requests from longtime players for the return of previously released exotic missions that the team absolutely loved crafting, and we got to work to answer the call. So next season, the exotic mission rotator is going to start day 1, and it's going to begin with the Presage mission, which is going to allow you to actually get and craft, this time, the Dead Man's Tale. So you can get the perfect DMT god roll, which is very exciting. After that, Vox Obscura and the Operation Seraph Shield quest will be joining the rotation. Now, moving on from there, they say to recap the PvP front, we're delivering the new Season 22 content as we mentioned above, including the brand new multiplex map, new relic game mode, checkmate modifier, etc., and a slick new Trials of Osiris armor set, in addition to the new and returning weapons coming to the Crucible, Iron Banner, and Trials playlists. We'll also have new Sandbox overhauls, exotic armor upgrades, and weapon tuning changes to keep the meta fresh alongside new ways to play PvP when the season kicks off later this month. Finally, we called out back in February that we were initially targeting more changes to ritual content in the final season of the year. While we've made the recent decision to push this initiative to the final shape, we have plans to replace some bounties with a more rewarding and engaging system tentatively called the Pathfinder. This is going to be debuted on the new destination in the final shape, and we are currently nailing down a plan for how we can use this new system to replace the core ritual bounties in the new year. For now, here's a work in progress preview of the Pathfinder UI. So this or something similar is what we're going to see in the final shape, and it appears to be something where you can choose from a multitude of different pathways to acquire a final reward. In this case, it appears to just be like a powerful or prime engram, but obviously that could change. And this could be very cool, like choosing how to get this reward based on your playstyle rather than have Bungie tell you via bounties what they want you to do. So that could be, again, a great feature. And lastly, guys, thing number 4, and we're coming to the end here, is connect our Guardians. The gameplay systems and quality of life features we added in Lightfall made Destiny 2 the most welcoming it's ever been for new and returning players. I don't know about that. And we're doubling down as we head into the final shape. Season 22 will include new ways to experience key in-game moments in Destiny 2's history to help get millions of Guardians caught up with the confrontation with the Witness. In Season 23, our upcoming Fireteam Finder, so an LFG, in-game LFG feature, will be the silver bullet for players who've never had a full Fireteam to run endgame content before, including raids, dungeons, master level activities, and more. And in the final shape, we're making big changes to the progression system that will help to connect even more players and remove barriers keeping friends from taking on the same content together. We'll have more info on that in the showcase. And Bungie concludes here with the features listed above combined with everything we're about to show on August 22nd and everything yet to come will create the best gameplay experience for the widest possible audience that Destiny 2 has ever seen. The final shape is incredibly special to us and the culmination of Destiny's first decade, and we're committed to making it just as special for all of our players worldwide as the showdown with the Witness approaches. So overall, guys, some very interesting changes, and I think some very good changes. Certainly, some of the feedback was addressed. Was it as overarching and massive as previous State of the Games? No, but we're kind of in a weird spot right now because Bungie is trying to show, that they're making these big changes, that they are doing what players are asking for with this state of the game, but also they're having to avoid spoiling what's coming in this showcase, right? So it's kind of walking a strange line, and I really don't think we're going to get a full picture of what Bungie has planned this year until that showcase finally does drop. So maybe reserve judgment until then, but I will say, every year, the showcases absolutely slap. Like, they just introduce so many cool things, unexpected changes, they lay the groundwork for what's to come, and the hype is usually like off the charts when these showcases happen. So I'm very much looking forward to it, and this is a nice, appetizer leading up to the main course of that showcase. Guys, I hope you enjoyed this video, found it informative, and if you did, please remember to help me out by simply rating and especially sharing this video. If you guys want to see more Destiny 2 content similar to this, don't be afraid to slap that subscribe button. If you want to get in touch with me and keep up to date with the latest channel activity, the best way is to follow me on Twitter at RickCacus. That is linked in the description down below. Again, I hope you enjoyed the video, and as always, have a good day.